I Am Mr. Rogers by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. From the series Ordinary People Change the World, I Am Mr. Rogers by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beautiful wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
Hi, neighbor. I am Mr. Rogers. I grew up in a small town called Latrobe, Pennsylvania. It was a small town with a real trolley, the kind of place where everyone knew their neighbors. Hi there. Hi, neighbor. Hi, Fred. When I was little, I wasn't popular. I was shy and didn't like sports. Bullies would call me names. One day, as I was walking home, I had the feeling I was being followed. Sure enough, some boys were behind me. I started walking faster, and they started walking faster, getting closer and louder. Freddy! Hey, Freddy! We're going to get you, Freddy! I was mad at those kids, and felt bad that they couldn't see me as anything but shy and weak. I cried in my room, a lot. I was scared of many things, like going to the doctor, being alone, and starting school. I don't want to go. Freddy, you have to. I once ordered an exercise kit to give me big muscles. It didn't work. But you see, there's nothing wrong with being scared. It's all right to feel how you're feeling. I was also sick a lot as a kid, with diseases like scarlet fever and asthma. Stuck in my bed by myself, I used my toys and make up stories. I'd pretend my knees were mountains. I can make it to the summit! Then the adventure would begin. I'd enter my world of make-believe. I'm almost at the summit! Eventually, I added puppets, and even had my own puppet theater in our attic. It had a real stage where it entertained my family and friends. Telling those make-believe stories helped me feel so much better. He's really good at this. Something else that helped me when I was worried or sad was music. My dad and I would parade through the house, banging and strumming away on instruments. Music is the one art we all have inside. We may not be able to play an instrument, but we can all sing along or tap our feet. I wasn't the type of kid who asked for much, but when I was 10, I asked my grandmother for a real piano. Nana, I really would like it. Maybe you should go visit the piano store. I took the trolley by myself to downtown Pittsburgh. For hours, I played every piano in the store. Finally, this is the one. Are you sure you can afford it? It was a second-hand 1920 Steinway. The next day, the salesperson couldn't believe it when I came back with a check from my grandmother. My Nana says hi. That piano changed my life, giving me confidence and comfort. But it wasn't just a piano that my grandmother gave me. It was love. It sounds wonderful, Freddie. It was the same with my grandfather, Fred McFeely, whom I was named after. He'd teach me about the world and myself. And after each visit, he'd say to me, "Freddie, you made this day a special day for me." He helped me realize how valuable every human being is, including myself. Isn't that beautiful? The love from a grandparent is so special. Love is at the root of everything. All learning and teaching and relationships. My parents, especially my mom, taught me the value of sharing that love with others. When she heard that a student couldn't afford new shoes, she bought him brand new high tops. "Wow, new sneakers! Where'd these come from?" A caring neighbor. Over time, the school nurse would order coats, eyeglasses, even furniture, and send the bills to my mom, who never took credit. Wouldn't it be great if love like that was shown to all kids? Every Christmas, she'd make new sweaters for everyone in our family. She had all these different patterns. "I know the kind you want, Freddie, the one with the zipper up the front. I feel like this'll be important later." When I would see scary things in the news as a boy, my mother would repeat one of my greatest life lessons. Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. My senior year of high school, I saw something that changed my life. Television. Whoa. The show I was watching had people throwing pies at each other. Isn't it great? I'm not sure about that. I couldn't understand why this new device was being used to make fun of people when it could instead be such a wonderful tool for education. But there was one thing I knew for sure. I wanted to work in television. My first job was in New York at NBC. One of the stars of the show used to talk directly to the camera. "Howdy, young whippersnappers." Gabby Hayes. "You're darn tootin' now, Will." I asked him how he connected to his audience when they weren't in the studio and he couldn't see them. He explained it to me. "I focus on one little buckaroo. I think of talking to just one of 'em. One little buckaroo." My real break came when a Pittsburgh TV station, WQED, said they wanted to do an educational show for children. This was my chance to bring together all the things I loved: music, my imagination, and of course, entertainment for kids. "You left the big city to come here?" "I have a good feeling about this." Joanne Rogers, my wife. The night before the first episode of our show, we called the Children's Corner our station manager, Dorothy Daniel, to give every staff member a little gift. "This is for you, Fred. I can't wait to see what it is." It was a little tiger puppet. "I heard you like puppets." "I do, thank you." I named him Daniel, after the person who gave him to me. On our first episode, while trying to show a movie, an old film strip broke. "Fred, do something. The movie isn't working." "What should I do?" "I don't know. We're live. Do something." I grabbed the tiger puppet and shoved him through the scenery, which was painted like a clock. "I hope this works." It's 5:02." That was the first time I spoke through Daniel Tiger on air. I never planned to use puppets on the show. I was just filling time. One day, when our host Josie was having a bad day, she turned to the puppet and said, "I am so upset." "Well, you just tell me about it." As she shared her feelings, something amazing happened. "Remember, it's okay to feel sad sometimes." "Thank you, Daniel. I feel so much better." On the show, we started focusing on these puppet conversations, giving us a way to talk directly to kids like you. It was like the make-believe conversations I used to have as a kid. But now, thousands of kids were listening. As I ran around backstage during each episode, my shoes kept squeaking. "Shh! Why are you changing your shoes?" "These are sneakers with rubber soles, less squeaky." "I feel like this'll be important later." In 1963, after I'd spent 8 years doing puppets and playing music on the Children's Corner, a man named Dr. Fred Rainsbury asked if I would be on the air. I don't know, I'm kind of shy. Don't worry, just look into the camera and pretend you're talking to a child. At first, the show was called Mr. Rogers, but eventually we picked a better name. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I filled it with so much of my life. Small town. Clanging trolley. Cling, cling. Kind neighbors. Mr. McFeely, named after my grandfather. Music and make-believe. Lady Elaine, named after my sister. And of course, the message that you and all children out there are valued.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like.
This is my friend, Jeff Erlanger. He's one of the neighbors here. I wanted you to see his wheelchair. Isn't it amazing? I spoke to kids directly, so they could understand that it's okay to feel however they're feeling, even if it's excited, sad, angry, or scared. For 31 seasons and nearly 900 episodes, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood also taught kids to accept everyone, no matter their differences. Back in the 1960s, when I heard that black people weren't allowed to swim in the same pools as white people, I invited Officer Clemens to come to mine. I don't have a towel. It's okay, you'll share mine. Officer Clemens was one of the first recurring black characters on children's TV. The actor, Francois, was surprised when I asked him to be a police officer on the show, but I told him that children need helpers, and I knew he'd be such a wonderful role model. When President Nixon tried to cut funding for my TV channel, PBS, I went to Washington, D.C. and spoke to Congress. We asked for $20 million to help grow national public television, but the senator in charge didn't seem to agree. Then I told him what I do on my show. I give an expression of care every day to each child, to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, "You've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are." Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days. Looks like you just earned the $20 million. In my life, I was shy and sad, and sometimes even mad. Have you ever felt that way? It's okay. We all have moments when we feel blue, but when we talk about our feelings, they become less upsetting and less scary. Growing up, I used to think that being strong meant having big muscles, but real strength comes from what is not seen. Real strength comes from helping others. When you do, you build the most beautiful neighborhood. Did you know Mr. Rogers' red sweater is now in the Smithsonian Museum? It's one of his mom made him. She made a new one every year for 60 years. Eventually, the boy in the wheelchair, Jeff Erlanger, grew up, and when Mr. Rogers was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, Erlanger surprised him on stage by saying, "When you tell people that it's you I like, we know what you really mean it. And tonight, I want to let you know that on behalf of millions of children and grown-ups, it's you that I like." It's such a good feeling to know we're lifelong friends, and as you grow older, I hope you'll be a helper. You can help by sharing your kindness with others and showing them love. The greatest thing we can do is let people know that they are loved and capable of loving. Thank you for spending this time with me. You are a very special person. There is only one you in the whole world. There's never been anyone like you before, and there never will be again. I am Mr. Rogers, and I like you just the way you are. There are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind, the second way is to be kind, and the third way is to be kind. Fred Rogers. Timeline. March 20th, 1928, born in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. 1951, begins first television job at NBC. June 9th, 1952, marries Joanne Bird. 1954, begins work as one of WQED's first employees in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 1954, The Children's Corner premieres. 1955, enrolls part-time at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. 1963, becomes ordained minister. 1963, Mr. Rogers debuts. February 19th, 1968, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood premieres. 1969, Officer Clemens' Wading Pool episode airs. 1981, Jeff Erlanger episode airs. 1999, inducted into Television Hall of Fame. 2002, receives Presidential Medal of Freedom. February 27th, 2003, dies in Pittsburgh at 74. 2012, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood premieres. In our top photo, we see Mr. Rogers talking with children in Chicago in 1994. And the bottom photo is Mr. Rogers with puppets Henrietta Pussycat and X the Owl.